Welcome friends to another r/entitled parents video. For every like this video gets, the overall entitlement of all parents slowly decreases. So make sure to hit that like button and support a good cause. And our first story of the day is by Little Miss Bunny Woman. Entitled parent wants me to make him a sandwich. So since I adopted my kid, she's been having lots and lots of friends come around, and of course, that means I'm getting to meet the parents. So far, I've met 5 of kids' friends' parents, most of which have been lovely people, and 1 I absolutely hate. There was another set of parents that we got off on the wrong foot, accidental racism from them, and I recently had, we will say, the pleasure of meeting kids' friends Ashley's father. Let's get on with the story time. Kid had her friend Ashley over for the night, and it makes me happy that Kid's really opened up in the last few months and is growing into the confident, friendly, bubbly, joyful person. Well, the day after, I didn't know it was Ashley's day with her father, so he came to my house to pick her up. The girls weren't ready to leave yet, they still had to pick Ashley's clothing up and pack, so instead of making the father wait out in his car, I told him there'll still be a few minutes and he's welcome to come inside and wait. I went ahead and tried to make the usual small talk, but was instantly getting the creeper vibes off this guy, mostly because the line of questioning and phrasing he was giving and using. It was a lot of, "Do you live here alone all by yourself? This is a terribly big place for such a small little girl," referring to me as a little girl, or, "Oh, I should come visit you sometime, your place can use a man's touch." He basically treated my house as if it was his and just creeped on me big time. Well, this guy decided to literally tell me that, "Oh, go make me a sandwich for the road." He didn't say, "Hey, I haven't had anything to eat yet." Wasn't polite at all. The jerk demanded food from a stranger he just met while waiting for his kid. I thought he was making a bad joke. I said, "My English isn't that good. Are you making a joke?" And he flat out said, "No, I'm hungry. Go grab me a sandwich, doll." At this point, I'm pissed off. This is literally the most misogynistic man I've ever met in my life, and I was pissed off. Did I say I was pissed off? Because I was pissed off like pissed. So I did it. I put on my friendly, submissive Asian lady smile and said, "Okay, sir." And I went to my kitchen and got out some really good roast beef. It was from dinner a few days ago, and really nice French bread and made him a sandwich. I did add a healthy amount of ground Szechuan peppercorns, a nice glob of ghost pepper extract sauce. I use it for making super spicy chili, white pepper, and a fine spread of minced Scotch bonnet peppers. Packed it in a baggie, and lucky the girls were ready to go as I packed the sandwich. I handed it to him with a big smile and a "Have a nice day, sir," as he walked out the door. I did immediately tell Kid to text her friend to not eat the sandwich and told her what was happening. Later that day, Ashley called Kid to say, "What did you do to my dad?" She was cry-laughing on the call. There's nothing like payback against a misogynistic man like melting their tongue off. If you yourself were faced in a situation like that, would you rather just tell them off right then and there, or would you rather go the route OP did and give them a nuclear sandwich? Let me know which one you would want to do in the comments down below. Our next story is by Mama Bear 8414. Entitled mother wants me to change my ducks' names because they'll upset her little darling. Chosen by my little darling. For context, my neighbor moved out a few months ago. Both are council properties. The players are me, my 7-year-old, entitled mother, little darling, housing officer, and my ducks. I'm currently mowing the lawn, which my ducks love because I turn up all sorts of bugs, so they follow me like shadows. 7-year-old's putting some decorations on her fairy gnome dinosaur garden in a pretty dress and Wellington boots. Her favorite look. It's a raised bed to keep the ducks out, but as she was adding some seashells she picked up at the beach, one of the ducks ran off with a big piece of mussel shell. She shouted, "Oi, quack bag, stop!" I turned off the mower and from the corner of my eye saw someone next door. I called them over with a promise of peas, the equivalent of duck chocolate, and said, "Come on, Quacker Jack, Crispy and Pancake, time for peas." Crispy dropped the shell and came running. Enter little darling saying, "What did you call them?" I say the brown one's Captain Quack Harkness and is a boy, and the 2 whites are girls called Crispy and Pancake. The little darling says, "That's cool." 5 minutes later, and a woman's clicking her fingers at me over the fence while the mower's running again. I turn the mower off, and entitled mother says, "Finally, I've been trying to get your attention for 20 minutes. What the heck are your pets' names?" I say Captain Quack Harkness, Crispy, and Pancake. She says, "Well, if I move in next door, that'll have to change. My little darling will be traumatized enough because you've told them they're named after food. He only eats crispy pancakes, you know." Now, in the UK, you can buy breadcrumbed pancakes with fillings like ham and cheese, mincemeat, and God knows what else, and they're called crispy pancakes. Our girls are Peking ducks, which are usually served with pancakes, cucumber, spring onion, and hoisin sauce at our local Chinese takeaway, also called crispy duck pancakes. Back to the conversation. I say, yeah, that's not going to happen. They're not my ducks, they're my daughters. I just pay for the food. Entitled mother calls over to the housing officer, who I know from the place I volunteer at, and says, I want to complain about those animals. The housing officer says, hi OP, are these the babies 7-year-old was telling me about? 7-year-old says, yeah, I hatched them all on my own. Well, mom helped a bit. Picks up each one in turn and introduces them to the housing officer. This is Pancake, this is Quacker Jack, and this is Crispy. The housing officer says to the entitled mother, so what's the complaint? They're friendly, they look like they've just been cleaned out, and they're not exactly noisy. She says, those names. My poor little darling will be so traumatized. Who names their pets after food? It's cruel. 7-year-old says, but I named them. Little darling says, Mom, can I watch Deadpool on your phone? The housing officer says, so traumatized. See ya Monday, OP. What's the big deal? So you name a pet after some food. I bet she calls chickens chickens. Just wait until they find out what they call it at KFC. Our next story is by No Park 825. My mother steals my things when I don't listen to her. I'm 26 and she lives in the house I pay for. About a year ago, me and my wife bought our own house after saving up for quite a while, and we were able to get a 2-story, 3-floor house. 2 floors above ground with 1 basement. We then renovated and moved in shortly after. About a month after we were completely done moving in, my mother lost her job and couldn't continue to pay for her own house, so I told her that she could live with me and my wife and live in the basement, which has a bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, and living room, so it's basically its own house. I didn't make her pay bills or anything just because she's my mom. Recently though, she's been asking me to clean her dishes, vacuum the basement for her, and clean my office space, which she doesn't even need to be in. It's on the 3rd floor, which I specifically told her not to go up there. I then tell her that I don't need to clean her things or mine for her, and remind her that she lives down there and she should clean her downstairs, and that I'll clean the upstairs whenever I want to. When I tell her though, she gets extremely upset and steals my things. First time it was my car keys, then my TV remote, and now my keyboard and mouse for my PC, which I need for work, which she stole after she told me to clean my office, in which I then told her no, and that it's my house and my rules. I asked her for the keyboard and mouse back, but she simply yelled at me and kept the door to the basement shut and locked. After that, I unlocked the door with the keys I had for the house, but she started to push the door shut on me. I just continued to push the door open until I was through the door and was in the basement, which she then fell and threatened to call the police on me for assault. I grabbed my keyboard and mouse and went upstairs without a word. It's now the morning after, and I'm still not entirely sure what to do. I don't even know if I want to talk to my mother right now. Unfortunately, to me, it seems like the only real solution is for them to start looking for their own place, because clearly they can't respect yours. This next story is by ALMC0418. Entitled parent thinks her kid should jump in line for a stuffy nose rather than real emergencies. I work in an extremely busy ER. We're so short-staffed it's laughable. Anyway, we have about 40 people in the waiting room when this happened, and unfortunately that's a good night these days. It was 3 a.m. so our fast track, pretty much an urgent care but in an ER, is closed. This mom comes in with a 4-year-old for nasal congestion. That's the chief complaint. I'm not downplaying it. The mom said, she's been stopped up all day. Fine, whatever. People check in for stupid stuff all the time. I felt bad for the kid that has to endure an ER waiting room at 3 a.m. with really sick people filling the place, but there's not much I can do about that. Seriously, we had people out there that needed treatment ASAP, but there was nothing we could do because we were holding in patients in the ER. It makes me feel like poop that I can't do anything for them except make sure they don't fall over on the floor. I can only imagine how they feel about it. Anyway, I'm working on getting people to the back so we can get the ball rolling with treatment. A little while goes by and mom decides she's pissed and wants to say something to us up front of the desk. I don't remember her exact words, but she basically told us we were racist. She's black, I and my coworkers up front just so happen to be white, and that we better get our butts in gear so that someone will see her daughter. She blamed us that her daughter was here at 4 a.m. She called us every name in the book, threatened us, and started slapping the front desk like she was trying to prove a point. Meanwhile, her sweet, bleary-eyed daughter was half asleep watching her throw this enormous tantrum about her wait time. Eventually, she left without being seen because the docs were so backed up they couldn't come out to see her. What people don't understand is that the pandemic might be over for some people, but it's not over for healthcare workers. My work is heck right now because of people like this coming in every night and expecting to be seen right away for things that aren't emergencies. I can do the best I can for patients because I truly care about them, but when I'm outnumbered 40-1, I can only do so much. I can deal with COVID, strokes, gunshot wounds, heart attacks, death, etc., but people like this witch are what makes my job so darn hard. Really, in any situation where it's kind of a free service in a way, a public service, you hate to see people trying to abuse it or just mistakenly using it in a bad way when there would be countless people that need to use it before them. Not to mention this terrible display of parenting. You just hope that the girl doesn't grow up to be like that when she's older, because God forbid that behavior rubs off on her. Our next story is by Chaos Gamer Girl. Give my child your insulin pump. So I'm a type 1 diabetic. This means that my body doesn't produce any insulin and I have to get it from an external source. The source that works best for me is a pump which is connected to my body. Without insulin, I would die a rather nasty and painful death. I can disconnect the pump for short periods to shower, change, etc., but 99% of the time it's connected to my body. I usually wear the pump on my waistband, which allows me to easily access it and make changes to my insulin as needed. I was over at my mother-in-law's house when my pump had an alert. My blood sugar was trending low, and this can be quite serious, so it's a loud and demanding alarm. I cleared the alert and grabbed a few fruit snacks to raise my sugars. My 5-year-old nephew heard the alert and asked me what it was, and I told him. I explained that it's a medical device that I wear to keep me healthy. He considers this and holds out his hand, demanding to see. I refuse since it's a medical device that I need to live. Beyond that, he's not gentle with anything and breaks most of his toys very quickly. I tell him no again, and knowing that he rarely hears the word, I move the pump from my waistband and clip it onto my bra. This way he can't just grab it, which is absolutely what he would do. He starts crying and wailing, so his mother, my sister-in-law, comes running. She screams at me asking what I did. I just shrugged and said that I told him no, he couldn't have my insulin pump. She scoffed at me and told me to hand it over. I can go without it for a little bit and my nephew deserves to see it. I should be stimulating his natural curiosity instead of trying to hamper it. I refuse again and tell her to drop it. It's not going to happen. But he's a child. Now, I've dealt with them before, so I know she's not going to be able to drop it. I said no to her child, and that's unforgivable. I'm getting a headache from the screaming, so I just turned and left. I didn't need to be there anymore, so I went home. I'm sorry that I'm not willing to risk my health and well-being just to entertain your child. Oh wait, no. I'm not sorry. In a weird way, I want to say that it's great that they said, don't hamper their natural curiosity. That said, there's always a time and a place for certain things. Maybe they could have showed the device, but handing any child a medical device that you need to live, not a good idea. And our final story of the day is by Championship Alarmed. It's just for boys, so just give it to them. My daughter's really into Pokemon, and for her 8th birthday, she got a really nice and expensive Pikachu hat. She wore it all the time. One day in school, an older boy, entitled Kid, approached her and wanted her hat. She just ignored him and hoped he would go away, but he continued to tell her she has to give him the hat. So she and her friend just walk away. She always has her long ponytail through the hole in the back. Entitled Kid approaches her again. This time he tries to just take it off her head. He pulls so hard that he tears it apart and my daughter fell. The teacher takes care of the situation and calls me to pick her up to check if she's okay. She tells me Entitled Kid will get an entry in his mail book, a little book each student has for communication with the parents, and asks if she can write down my contact information so the parents can contact me. She's not seriously injured, just some scratches and bruises, but the hat's broken and she's very upset. I don't get any message from his parents, so I ask the teacher if they could inform them about the hat. They don't react at all. Then I meet Entitled Mother at pickup and I want to speak to her, but she instantly starts shouting at me because it was all my fault that her son got punished. Obviously, my daughter should have given him the hat because Pokemon is just for boys. And I'm super cheap because I don't buy my daughter a girl's hat and make her wear her brother's. My daughter's confused, tells her she doesn't even have a brother and that it was her hat. Entitled Mother goes on that she can't wear a boy's hat because she's a girl and that she won't replace it. And I'm just stupid for even buying such an expensive hat in the first place when I can get a nice girl's hat for €5. She would never pay a cent to mean parents like us who try to turn little girls into boys, and off she goes. I bought my daughter a new hat, but she doesn't wear it to school anymore. If there was something that really could just totally upset you to the core, it's a person who acts like this. Acts unrestrained, gaslights you, blames you. Well, my son acting up is all your fault. It's basically the same argument of, well, look what she was wearing, she was asking for it. The only problem is, you'll never be able to get that into the entitled mother's thick skull because they refuse to be wrong. Nothing but a lose-lose situation, and you end up frustrated because this person's so dense and just so unwilling to compromise at all with anybody on anything that they take the other side, even if they have to say the sky's green to do so. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel, and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.